WarsawJS.
So hello everyone, today I am going to talk how you can use one code base to multiply development with WebView. I am front-end engineer at Fresh, and we are using exactly this approach to make our application, which is available in whole the world. So let's imagine that today you have a business idea and you are going to talk to an investor and you are selling him global vision, and only what you need to deliver is fast growth and you will get rich. So it's easy idea, but how to get big audience in just small time? So idea is very simple: make application for web, for App Store, available on iOS, and to Google Play on Android. And if you make quick research, you will find that the best technology for web is HTML, CSS, jQuery, as always jQuery for the win. For iOS, you will use Swift, and for Android, all but still trendy Java. Idea is good. Problem is that if you are starting, you want to make it fast. And in this example, you have 3 different code bases. You are making the same application in totally different languages. So you need to create 3 separate teams, and it requires time to hire good people for it. Second things, if one team is going to have some delay with feature, you need to make decision. Are you going to go live with features only on 2 platforms, or you are waiting when this team will catch up their job? So let's change some idea with Swift and Java and use some frameworks for porting development, like hybrids. And let's choose, for example, React Native, but you can choose Flutter or Xamarin, up to you. And if we use React Native, we would like to change jQuery as well for React, because then we can reshare some part of technology, some part of our code. It sounds much better, but still we have 2 separate teams. And maybe we use React and React Native, but we can only share logic layer. We cannot make presentation layer, because in React Native we are going to use native elements for presentation, and in React we are going to use DOM for the browser. So what if we make a decision to use only HTML, CSS, and React for all our platforms? This idea is very good and it's very trendy, because it's idea of progressive web application. So it's application which behave like native. You have offline support, so dinosaur from Chrome is not live anymore. And if you go this application to browser, it's good. But if you think about Google Play market, yeah, you can also put Google web application to Android market using Trust Web Activity. So it's possible. Unfortunately, for iOS, it's not possible at all. So still, iOS is very big part of market, so it's stupid to resign from iOS application. So what are we going to make separate team? No, we are going to use WebView. We are going to transform our application, web application, in some kind of native application. Difference will be very small, because in our native application, we will build it in device browser. So on iOS, it will be Safari. On Android, it will be Chromium. And we are going to display some kind of iframe. We are not going to call that iframe, but it will be exactly WebView, which is going to show our files from static files like index.html, CSS, and JavaScript. In this way, we are going to change our visibility in iOS, in App Store. Or yes, we will be there. Okay, so, but still, it's web browser. So are we going to have access for camera or file system? Yeah, PWA gave us a lot of different features which allow for it. But there is still some small problem, because when we talk about it, we are speaking generally about Google. And what if we want to say about Safari? Safari is our new Internet Explorer, so we have lack of features. And as every JavaScript developer, we need superhero for it. And our superheroes generally for every possible problem are dependencies or frameworks or libraries. It is why we can use Cordova to do it. So it will give us bridge to fill the gap of lacking features. We can use Electron, for example, if we make application for desktop, or Capacitor, which we are going to use. And I am going to show you now how quickly you can transform it in native application. Okay, so I have some application written in React, nothing hard. WarsawJS application, it is quiz application, as you see, it is in browsers. So yeah, that's all. Okay, I closed. Okay, so first thing which we need to take care, it is install Capacitor and Initialize project. So I'm going to copy and paste some commands to install some dependencies. We are going to process it very quickly. And because we don't want to empty iframe, which is going to deliver us web application, because it will require sending requests to backend and get these files, and it doesn't look as native application because we should have these files immediately. We are going to prepare build for our application. The Webpack is preparing bundle for us. It's taking quite a short time. We have index.html, which is going to serve our bundle, and bundle is our React application. Of course, it could be in the index.html with jQuery. It's everything up to you. So yeah. So let's initialize Capacitor. Let's name our application for WarsawJS. ID, I'm going to omit that. And web asset directory, it is folder from which we are going to make our application work. Okay, so next thing which we need to do, it is add support for exactly platform. In our case, it's going to be iOS. So we are going to install now Bridge, which are going to deliver us some function to JavaScript to be able to communicate with iOS API. And if we have it, install it, we can add that to project. We are waiting. And what has happened now? Currently, under the hood, Capacitor created a new folder for iOS where you can find Xcode project. And Xcode is our idea for making else app. Hello to Xcode. And here we have our application, which is totally built by two screens. One, it is launch screen. It is our application, our first screen, which we see when we are loading files. And we have main storyboard, which is our iframe. It is exactly Safari in our case, which import file from folder public, index.html, and then everything will work. Okay, so let's choose emulator, and we are going to build process with build. Okay, we are waiting. Yes, and if everything goes well, I have my new iPhone Pro Max exactly, and I should have somewhere on wallpaper my new application, which is already installed. I'm going to reset application because I could have that before. I'm opening, and if everything works fine, we have our web application inside iOS. And this build we can later send to App Store and have our application working on production live. So I say that it's browser, so okay, is there any way to prove that? And yes, because I'm going to show you how we can debug things using Safari. Because if I use Safari, somewhere at the top, I'm going to have developer tools, and I can connect with my native application. We have here developer tools. Here we have my emulator. So let's, for example, change background for red. So as you see, behind the hood, it's still Safari. So it sounds like very nice. You can make your features deliver very quickly. But what are these advantages of this approach? Because still a lot of companies make separate app for iOS and for Java. So as you know, as programmer, every problem you can solve by next layer of abstraction. And this layer of abstraction is our browser. So instead of sharing immediately native elements and generate our view, we are first import browser in our app, and then we are displaying exactly website. So it can cause some performance problem. But as some of you, I think, use Visual Studio Code, and Visual Studio Code, it's application, also web application embedded inside Electron. So if you think that performance can affect you, I think it's not true, because if you take from the beginning and think about it, how it's going to work in browser, you should omit this problem. Second thing is complicated deployment process. You need to make separate pipeline for it. In Fresha, for example, we use Cordova, and we have separate pipeline, but also we have some problem with testing, because for end-to-end testing, we are using Cypress, and native application still, in our case, it is web application, but mapping events from native application to web to Safari, which is embedded, is quite different. So there are some problems, like Cypress cannot use the cannot check by native IPA. Cypress is checking only browsers, so we are using Appium only to run this application and clicking this in native application and to be in final mapped to browser. Next things which you need to take about, and a lot of people are forgetting about it, it is out-of-date front-end app. So it means if you are going to make some change on backend, you can destroy somebody's screen, because native application is not going to be up to date all the time. You are not going to make deploy and have a new front end on the user cell phone. So fixing errors, there are two types. One is backend. So if you have some kind of some kind of incident, it's quite simple. You are making path, making deploy, and it's starting to work. In front-end side, it's a bit differently, because also you are preparing patch, but later you need submit app for the review. So you need to wait that Apple or Android will confirm that this application works well with their terms and conditions. If yes, then you need to wait for app distribution in other countries. In Fresha, we had cases that, for example, application was available in Poland, but it wasn't in New Zealand, because Apple servers didn't synchronize immediately. So you need to wait around 1-2 days for it. And then you need to have hope that user will download the new application. If not, application is still going to crash. But having hope sounds very bad, because come on, how we can solve that problem to ensure that every user has up-to-date front-end app? So in Fresha, we have force app mechanism. We are sending some data from backend, from which version we are allowing to enter our application. If not, we are showing different screen and ask, if you can download new app, please do it if you want to use. And next things, it is feature flags. If you think about feature flags, you also need to think about all frontend, because in Fresha we are in continuous delivery, so we are pushing not ready features to production behind the feature flag. We don't want enable feature flag and make our not ready feature visible for end users. So we need to solve that. And so some teams are doing separate feature flag for native application, for web application, or we created mechanisms to enable feature flag only if minimal version is provided. And it's also some approach. But you need to remember that you cannot enable feature flag immediately when you finish coding feature, because you need still wait some days when the user will download that. So also there is problem with delay with new phone functionalities. Some years ago, there was some big update because smartwatches came to us, and for some industries, it was very important because, for example, if you make sport application, you could check how many steps you made, your heart rate, and so on. And if you make native application API for it, you got immediately with iOS update. But in case of application using Cordova, you need to wait when somebody is going to implement that. So WebView doesn't fit to every company, but I think that it's still worthy to consider, exactly when important for you its velocity. And that's all what I wanted to show you. And if you have any question, I am glad to answer to them.
Congratulations for the presentation and quick intro to what you do there in Fresha. So I posted on YouTube the link to the question that Fresha was experiencing some problems recently with continuous, no, maybe not with continuous deployment, but with something, because there were some issues. Can you tell us what really happened? Why it was? Because I think I didn't understand it well. Why it was not working everywhere in every center.
There were different issues, but exactly with WebView, I don't know how much deep I can go, but we had very one important with WebView, and not only us, because, for example, Gmail was affected as well. Generally, Google made some mistake in Android update, and WebView stopped working on Samsung devices. So around 8 hours, any of our users couldn't use any application which used WebView. So our application didn't work, and also application of Gmail, for example, didn't work. And I think more and more. So I think you need to be aware, like, you have still these applications which are not up to date with front end, and it's very important here, I think, to use defensive approach to programming exactly on backend. So think that what you can remove from endpoint and what you can add. And if it is well tested, I think it's not going to affect. But still, making fast features deliver always some bugs to production. Don't be afraid of break things.
Okay, great. So I think I like this approach. Can you tell us how much faster can you go with WebView instead of using a different technology?
I think it's not exactly faster in meaning that other technologies are bad, because I am pretty sure that they have a lot of advantages as well. But in our case, we employ only people from front-end, like React developers and backend developers. So we don't have any special mobile team who knows only Java or Swift or React Native technology, native scripts or Flutter and so on. So we are making web application, and our mobile view is exactly the same what you can get in native application. What is quite fast, because, for example, I hate these feelings when you want to do something on mobile application and they don't have this feature, and you need to enter their website only to make this stuff. And in our case, we are never cutting features, so we are not going to deliver that for mobile phone, because we don't have time for it. We always deliver everything, and I think it is very big advantage. And yeah, that's it.